that with the 3D cursor control, people have been doing it for a year, 2 years, that they haven't got the type of control and percentages that I've gotten in a day, so literally a day. The highlight was 45 minutes ago. I got to use a robotic arm for the first time, and I got to reach out and touch somebody for the first time in 7 years.
So what you see is people struggled with how to get the electrodes on the surface of the brain, how to do the brain learning. The computer algorithms have improved. This is by trial and error as it begins to recognize what the subject's brain is doing. But after that, if you look at that as a scientific development in medicine, you can quickly see the possibilities that emerge. Right? They're playing with motor function and linking it to thought. So the next step, really, when you think about it, was to simultaneously try it with another non-human animal and find out if she could run a robot on the other side of the planet. And the essence of this experiment is, at first she had to walk on the treadmill to keep the robot walking that she could observe on the computer screen, and then she just stopped walking and it would run the robot in Japan. So you can have a brain here in the United States plugged in, running a robotic device, a mechanical device, via the internet somewhere else in the world. So that was pretty cool. It also has some fun implications. If you see now, where do you imagine this going when you think of it as an offensive or defensive opportunity with respect to the intelligence community? The natural segue then would be, if I can send motor function from a brain to a mechanical arm, is it possible to send motor functions from one human to another human? So I call it the possession experiment. Oh, it's on that one, yeah. Just have to hover the, there you go, right there.
For our weekly tech report. Now, do you know the phrase brain power? Well, it turns out that scientists at the University of Washington are trying to hone that power and transmit it to another brain. Researchers call it direct brain-to-brain communication, and they do it by passing a signal from one mind to the next, using the internet nonetheless. So does it sound a little sci-fi, Star Trek mind meld, Jedi mind trick Inception-esque to you? Well, it did to me too. So I brought one of the researchers onto the show to tell me how it works. Dr. Andrea Stocco is an assistant research professor at the University of Washington, and he told me why this concept is not as weird as it sounds.
It's not so science fiction. We use currently existing technologies to read the brain patterns in a person and to transmit them to a different person. And we can only do it with very simple impulses right now, like motor commands to control the hand, for instance. So it's not that science fiction. It was definitely possible years ago. It's just that we were the first to try it.
Sure. So can you go into a little bit more detail about how specifically it works, or what you need from the person and also what you need from wireless internet to make it come together?
Yes. It works more or less like this. A person is sitting on a chair, and we call this person the first brain or the sender, and is connected to an EEG cap. The EEG cap detects electrical activity all around the brain and is capable of recognizing when the brain patterns are those that a person produces when he's trying to move the right hand or is thinking about moving the right hand. These brain patterns are interpreted by a computer who then controls a second computer who is connected over the internet, and the second computer controls a stimulating coil that produces a magnetic field, and it's the magnetic field that is eventually directed over the head in such a way as to reproduce a particular command in a selected part of the brain. In this case, the part of the brain that controls the right hand. The wireless connection enters only in the communication between the two computers. The two computers can be in the same room and connected physically, or they can be in any part of the world and talking to each other through the internet.
So you can watch the video, but essentially what's happening is when one person is playing the video game, they're not using their hands. They're simply looking at targets. What's going on in the other room is a transcranial magnetic stimulation device that creates a magnetic field that excites neurons. And it's the other man's hand that begins to move and hits the targets. So you've co-opted the portion of a body of another human, and then their hand can behave in the way that you want it to do. His goal, you'll see later if you download the video, is he would like to have a cap that you could put on and have a surgeon direct your hands to do battlefield surgery or something somewhere else in the world where they don't have a doctor who has the technical skills. You can put on the cap and your hands become an extension of that expert's body. The fine motor skill manipulation at that point in time was not great, but the person on the receiving end described the sensation as rather odd. He said, I didn't know anything until I saw my hand beginning to move and felt that it was something other. And its hand was moving, the hand could punch in a code, the hand could do a number of things. But the really fun part was that you're taking over somebody else's physical body with the mind of another human. So what do you think would be the next step? You follow medical research, you say, you can make a robot move,